to professionalize it more. Not obviously to just let everybody in the public know, but I always say when I'm selling something, I'm always trying to tell my client that, I'm trying to sell the best, be the best, do the best for them, and, I want to sell that as value, and so, like, I always demand high fees and high rates for quality, because it's what I do, and I think that's what you're trying to do, and that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the industry is professional. It's largely professional. I think that where I would find myself trying to fill in gaps with some of the training is there's been an absence of the certain type of training that Peter and I are trying to do, and not worldwide, but as it respects to the need within the industry, I think there's an absence, and so filling that gap, I think, is servicing people who want to get into it, giving them the right information, giving you the best thing, and I think that is a step in the right direction. But the there's a lot of people that have been around for a long time. And even though, we all have had people that have worked for us that, varying degrees of skill, yeah, it's pretty professional. There are areas where there's zero regulation, so I always wonder, how professional could it be if the barrier to entry is nothing? Maybe it takes care of itself. The market always seems to take care of itself. One of the ways in which I think, in reflection to your comment, is rates. So when I started in the industry, rates were, in some cases, more than what they are today. And I can't think of another industry in the world that has gotten cheaper. The only thing I ever think of, and I always think of this one, is Costco hot dog. Remember when they were $1.99, right? You know why they became $1.49? Because they bought the hot dog company, right? And it's a lost leader for Costco, right? They want you to buy a $1.49 hot dog at a pop, because then you're going to spend $200 on groceries, right? So it is a plan, but it's the only thing I can think of that's went down in price in all this time, right? Everything else goes up, gas, everything else, vehicles. So, I think, I don't know for sure, it's an opinion, but I think the reason being is procurement, recessions. A lot of companies think of PIs and what we do as an expenditure, right? So when times get tough, what do? They cut expenditures, right? And are we related to, how much? Our argument's always been, well, how much money do we save? It's a very good argument. Can anybody prove it, right? It's the ultimate proof. You're a good investigator. How do you prove it, right? So we started to collect data. There's more availability of, any one of you could open up a PI firm and for a few $100 a month be in a position that 10 years ago you would have had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to say, my investigator is doing this. You'd have your own criteria of what you define as success, but I think if you're honest about it and you're saying you're trying to be good, and you're going to define that as something that's real, that you can work with, that you can convey to your clients, that these SOPs and KPIs that are important, and the software has come a long way to do it. I think the history of why rates have gone down is there's larger insurers, and when you get into that large process of bidding, it has that effect, right? The prices go down. Why? Because da-da-da-da-da-da. But I think in large, the more that we can articulate our value or be statistically capable of reflecting value and working with our clients, the more that we can be appreciated for it, and the more that you're appreciated for it, the more that they'll put a value on it from a dollar standpoint. And I think until we're able to do that, we'll see rates kind of continue to be what they are today. So it's not, my view is always, it's not blaming your client for being cheap, as some people may say. It's about leveling up as an industry and providing a better service so that they value you more so. Is that a utopia thought? Maybe. But it's the only reason why I think that the onus is on the industry to do better and be better and provide a better product, and then the rates follow. But
do you think the internet had a lot to do with it? Like, just the vast information that's available, social media, like a lot of people think they can get
should have opened up all sorts of revenue opportunities.
Well, I just mean because like everybody is now, they're a detective, right? They're all investigators.
So let me ask you all a question. Who thinks that being a desk investigator, from what you've learned or doing surveillance, which would you say is the easier task?
Desk for sure.
Why?
Because there's so many nuances of surveillance that, basically being a desk investigator is the same thing as being a skip tracer. Like, they're pretty
it's a skill. I'm not minimizing it, but
I mean just the whole aspect of it, like the way you go about getting
surveillance is complicated, it's technical, it's a skill, it's not for everybody, it's not, it's got a lot of things that are challenging. So when you look at rates today, I'm just generalizing, but in some cases, rates for surveillance are lower than non-surveillance. When I would argue it's easier and there's more readily available people out there who can do a non-surveillance file. What I mean, more the desk investigations, not interviews, not statements. That is an acumen in the specialty.
It's an investment to do surveillance too, if you're gonna do it properly.
But the rates don't reflect the difficulty, in my opinion, and I think that's largely just due to a certain component of industry, but largely just not to understanding what it takes to do it. And so once we start providing, or there's more training options that people take into their business, that hire and believe in and see the value in, and that starts to change, then I think the industry changes and it reflects in different ways. But anyhow, that's, I think it is professional, Pat, but I think, the rates are, sort of an interesting concept that, reflects a degree of professionalism in the industry or some sort of shift, right? So,
in your opinion, what's a decent starting range for like a new firm or somebody just starting out versus obviously?
I know
your rates
PIs
will
that
be a
charge.
lot higher, right?
I know some PIs that charge $150 an hour.
Yeah.
Some 200. In this market, some clients maybe, but again, if you want to, I don't know, from a business standpoint, you want to be not the most expensive nor the least expensive. You want to be, and if you have a specialty, I think my philosophy is more so, rather than doing a day, knowing that it accomplishes very little in the objective of a client, that you advocate for 3 so you have enough runway to get them some results, and then there's an associated value to the service, right? If you just do things for transactional dollars and for a few bucks and you can't deliver results, then what's the end up feeling? Oh, well, that wasn't a positive experience. That didn't get me anything that I wanted. And so being that partner in their problem solving, if we can do that and then do a good job of executing, I think that the rest of it sort of takes care of itself. And training is at the core of it all. So, Jasmine?
I find the course so far very informative. I'm not sure where it's going to take me at this point. I'm not really interested in surveillance.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But listen, if you went back into the paralegal world, I think it would have an eye-opening experience, some of the information, no?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's great. I think for you, I think that would be a win to take it back to that world if that's something that you decide and really truly have a deeper understanding, whereas most of the people in that profession may have a lot of experience and understand it, but you'd have insight and knowledge that otherwise would be hard to come by.
Oh,
yeah, that'd be great. Sarah?
I really,
Go
ahead. No, go ahead.
One thing that I was thinking, like, the work, is it consistent? Is there, well, it depends on who you're working for and.
Yeah, so.
I mean, it kind of sounds like subcontracting almost, like.
No, most investigators would probably prefer to be an employee, which is fine, because then they don't have the legalities of, business ownership and accounting and blah, 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 taxes. And so I don't have any issues with that, either one. If you are going to be a contractor, there are certain requirements. There's lots of benefits, but that's up to the individual and how they want to approach that situation. As far as the work goes, it's a niche industry. However, for those that are good at it, that really enjoy it, that are passionate about it, there's always work. There's plenty of people that maybe have lost their passion or aren't, really that great overall, that have been kicking around, and there's plenty of room for people who, even in the organizations I've been with, there's people who are great at some aspects of it. Maybe a surveillance person is really phenomenal at getting results, not a great report writer. And so you kind of work with those situations, right? Because the results is really what matters. The reporting is certainly a gap, but it's an easier gap to fill than getting results in the field. So you work with people, and anybody that's capable of doing the work that enjoys doing it, cream rises to the top, and it does it very, very, very quickly. This is why the training for me is so important and passionate about it. Why? Because if you do decide to make surveillance your career, or even the non-surveillance, the first few files that you have are critical, and no one will ever tell you this. Why? hey, guess what, I'm gonna give you your first few files, and if you fail, good luck,
Yeah.
right? Who wants to talk to anybody like that? But unconsciously or consciously, they're thinking it. Why? Because how long could I risk the brand and the relationships of a business that I've spent years building by putting new people out there to make mistakes on some, like if I told a client, hey, I'm putting Sarah out there, she's brand new, she has no experience,
I'm
even
gonna
if,
charge you full rate.
well, even regardless of price,
Yeah.
regardless of price, people will say no.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you're going in for heart surgery next year, he's brand new, he's wonderful though, but he's never done an operation. I'm like, no, I'm not going, Max, you can go first, right?
I struggled to get work when I first started, and it got to the point when I started getting into the training, I couldn't get people to leave me alone who wanted me to work for them. Like, when you get to that point,
When you're capable and people know it and
Yeah.
it resonates, it's easy to get work.
yeah, like
There's a lineup of firms that are, well-minded, caring professionals that can recognize in a heartbeat that you have skills that they haven't seen and you can produce results. When you go into interviews, if some of you decide to pursue this as a career, especially on the surveillance side, and you can talk about all that we're talking about, it will seem like you have worked in the industry for some time. And that is valuable. Why? Because it's reducing or eliminating the risk to them investing in you. Not only that, is you spent this time doing the research and educating yourself, and the reality will be is that you know what you're getting into, you know what it takes, you know how difficult it is, and you're not a liability from at some point in time, 8 months down the road, waking up and going, I hate this job,
Yeah.
right? So, that's a huge liability. Why? It is for me, because I've made the mistake of hiring people who I wanted more for them than they wanted for themselves, right? And my perspective was broad, theirs was fairly narrow. They had a perception of what it was to do the job that I haven't even asked what it was. So, it's on us and me in those circumstances to say, what are we doing better in the process of onboarding and hiring new people so that they have the right information. So the 100 course is trying to address that and say, do you have all the right information to make this decision? Do you want to invest in education for yourself, blah, blah, blah. And, trying to do that. So some standard had to be created. So rather than, I just look at it like it is what it is, and nothing's filled the gap until, somebody starts to try and make an initiative to do that. So that'll be on our list and radar. And, thanks for everybody's feedback. Not looking for praise, looking for an opportunity to make it better, making sure that it's resonating the way that both Peter and I hoped it would, right? And we've changed some of the material, so that's why we're kind of recapping. We're a little bit ahead. I think tomorrow we'll plow through, but I can tell you, and we spent, Peter and I, a lot of time giving the realism of the industry and the things that you do in it, because I think it's important, because those are the things that people wake up to 6-8 months down the road and go, I don't like this isn't for me, it's impacting me in a way, like hours of work, the 100 somebody doesn't take, you get the sense now with surveillance, like if you go to work on a surveillance file, you plan nothing that day, right? Nothing. Why? Because that's all you're doing. And it's likely that that's all you will do. So, can I go to the hockey game at 7 on Friday? I mean, I'm never committing at this stage. I never commit to anything. Maybe, right? My kids text me, you gonna be home at 5:30? Maybe. Today is a little bit different, but I never commit, because the moment I do, it always bites me. It always bites me, so I don't commit. And so, but how many jobs are like that? Policing can be like that. You get into a major file in a case and things happen at the end of your shift, you're not going home. You're working 16 hours, you're working 20 hours. Homicide detective, my daughter's interested in that. Okay. But it is an all-consuming job. Is that what you're about? And sort of the research and the goal of some of this is what it's like, this is what it's about. If it resonates with you, pursue it. If it doesn't, look for things within it that do. And there's still plenty to do. There's way more to do in the PI world. There's supporting operationally, right? There's people who can do sales and business development. Listen, I really understand the content, I know what you're up to, but Pat, I'm a great salesman, I think I can help you grow your business. Oh, what makes you think so? I have this course and I have knowledge and understanding. Great. I don't have to spend hours and hours and hours explaining it to you? No. I took this course and I think I'm better suited for sales. So it's a big business, right?
And this industry is so heavily based on surveillance for insurance fraud that regardless of what you do, this is important fundamental information, education you should
So there's a
have.
place, and we can go through that at some point, and I can give you, a lot of detailed descriptions of jobs. I can give you the realities of, how available those jobs are, right? Smaller firms less available. Larger firms, more available. There's a few really large firms in this city that will have plenty of opportunity for things that may be otherwise. Now, again, it's training, it's standing out, it's getting hired, it's saying I'm worth it. And I think the content and your confidence and ability to speak to it following this is the difference between you getting hired or the other person getting hired. I really believe that that's the goal. Give you knowledge, give you confidence, but get you hired so you can get experience, because, and have an impact early on. If you don't have an impact on those first 6 to 12 files, I almost can promise you that's the end of it. At that company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
there's a
that's
reality
the
there.
job, right?
You pay your dues.
Yeah.
Right, in anything. Is there a place in the PI world for a well-rounded investigator to have done a lot? Yes, there is. Is that easy? No, it's not. Is it likely that you'll specialize in a couple of things? 100%, like a lot of things. So, like in the policing world, there is ICRB's got the generalist mentality, but they still have homicide detectives, they still have organized crime, they still have their specialties because they have to, because nobody can do everything. There's a few of us who grew up who, I've done almost every type of file, so I'm including murder. But again, I told you the day, if I had a murder file that was a client, I would reach out to people I knew who were better qualified than me, because it's in the interest of the file, right? So you can't be an expert at everything, but there's enough, I think, to keep everybody interested and engaged that you can pursue and have a career and make a good living and be proud of what you do in ways that I think many other jobs don't offer, right? The nicest thing about it.
Or it's surveillance, like there's no.
Me and Peter are hesitant to tell people what we do. I don't, as a habit. I don't shy away from it, because I'm not ashamed. I'm just not interested in, oh my God, that's so exciting.
Like if
It becomes something that people want to talk about, and that's great. What I'm saying, but the plus side of it, the ego stroking component of it is, it feels good, right? It's got some cachet, and so it should, because it is unique and whatever else. And it feels good that you feel proud that people are interested in what you do, right? And so that has that, right? And some professions do it, but many don't, right? Depending on the interest, right? So this is one that if I had $1 for every time somebody said, I've always wanted to be a PI and had a lot of questions for me, I'd be filthy rich, right?
Like a continuing education wise, like.
So there'll be courses on open source. I think there'll be smaller courses on the ethics. So you talked a lot about, what do you do in this situation? Our version of ethics from a PI standpoint, how to navigate them. We have another course called Engaging with a Private Investigator, and there's one that we would like to have for middle managers, which is more the sales / client expectation side of things. So again, get that vertical alignment right from any client right through a larger organization to the ultimate investigator and everybody who's playing a hand in the process, so that you have at least some ability to transfer some knowledge to people that are, like, let's say Jeff's been on the road, he's a great investigator, he's been around, but he really just kind of wants to go into management. So once he moves into management and starts managing a multiple investigators, he'll have confidence with the realm of which he understands and knows and can provide leadership there. But then that lack of exposure to the client side and the expectation and all those things, and filtering those clients and what one you want to take, what you want to do, and the managing of money and the contracts, there's another acumen there. And so it'd be great to have a course where companies or investigators that want to pursue more ambitious opportunities in management can take a course where, again, they're lowering the liability to a company. And those are maybe few and far between, but I think lots of investigators also would benefit from understanding the challenges of the people that they're working with when it comes to the clients. And I try and spend a lot of time with investigators explaining what we're doing and why, and the impact and the relationship I have with a client, or one of our other client managers, because it's important. Why are we doing this? So I'm putting it into context for them so that they also get the broader perspective, right?
Exactly.
So, and then they learn, right? And I ask a lot of questions to clients today. Why is that important, right? I'm not ashamed. Why? Oh, then explain it to me, right? So, and that's part of that consultation. So about other courses, there's things along that line. There's surveillance, advanced surveillance. So we're gonna cover the rest of the single person surveillance tomorrow, the next day. Maybe tomorrow we'll finish. But the foot surveillance, whatnot. Now that's giving you the right information, giving you an identification of the right tools, some process. But by no means is that ends there, right? Like there is advanced techniques for foot surveillance. There are you know, more to be learned from vehicle surveillance. But I think in order for that to have true meaning, you gotta take what you learn here, put
It's
it,
the foundation.
put it into practice, and then, yeah, we'd like to have some other courses. And it would be more along the lines of what Jeff was saying in terms of the practical, like a practical surveillance course where we can go out of there and actually offer it. The challenge from a business standpoint is logistically very expensive, time consuming, and you can't have a larger group. So we have to figure out how to do it in a way where it's scalable, right? Because we have students around the globe, like we can't be in Australia, right? So, and working with other people, maybe it's feasible.
But like
So,
you said, it would be nice for us to know too, like following you guys or whatever, right? To get your feedback and be like, wow, that was so, you know, blatantly obvious, because that's how you're
Yeah.
gonna know you're successful.
Yeah,
You're never
when
gonna
you-
know from the target,
When
right?
you're videotaped doing it,
Yeah.
you see how it looked, right?
Yeah.
Like you said.
yeah, I think, do we have a video of you videoing me?
Yep.
You videoing me, videoing somebody?
Yep,
Yeah, so-
that's in our next big chunky topic that's on.
Where you get to see me and filming somebody, and you get to see that film, and you get to see him filming me, so you can kind of have a look at the body language and have a look at, you know, the challenges and the posture. And I mean, the biggest little secret is when you're getting covert, we've talked a little bit about it, is you're holding the covert, and you go up to somebody and you're like, okay, I got covert, okay, right, and then you look at the video, because the instinct is to run. I got it, okay, let's go, right? And then you look at the video and it's nothing. You're just like, oh my God, that is nothing. That's not even usable, it's so shaky. So the tendency, it feels like an eternity when you're doing this, but in reality, it's nothing.
You'll be
So-
surprised how little video you actually.
So, like, what I do with, like, soup cans, I've read every soup can in the world. I grab a soup can, I have my hat, I look at their shoes, right? I can't even see their face. I'm in the aisle, and I don't know, you'll look at the aisle, like, if you ever see somebody kind of turn sideways in the aisle looking at a soup can for 2 minutes, that's me,
Yeah.
right? Because it takes 2 minutes of just being still. No one's gonna notice. I mean, you might move a little bit or change your soup can, right? What is this? You're looking at ingredients, You know, how long can you get away with standing still before someone says, is that guy standing still, like doing nothing? Quite a while, you'd be surprised, right? Very long time. So that discipline, what's that?
I can spot them though.
Yeah.
Floor walkers and stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You guys
Floor
should all
walkers.
niche course.
So obvious.
Yeah, but again, the demographic and the skill of the floor walker is proportional to what they're being paid, so keep in mind, right? They, yeah, and if you're dealing with someone who's switched on, and like if you're dealing with someone who does it for a living, you shouldn't notice them if they're any good, right?